Hello investors, welcome to Alphawealth Avenues. We believe in the mantra, invest wisely and live wealthy. We are on a mission to empower your investing journey by providing cutting edge research and timely guidance. हाय फ्रेंड्स, तो आज हम डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं एक सेक्टोरल एनालिसिस. द नेम ऑफ द सेक्टर इज बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री. ये इंडस्ट्री थोड़ी यूनिक है. ऑफ कोर्स इट इज़ इन द फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, लेकिन इसमें और एक नॉर्मल कंपनी, नॉर्मल बिजनेस मॉडल में काफ़ी सारे फ़र्क है. फॉर एग्जांपल, इन अ नॉर्मल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी और एनी इंडस्ट्री, द कंपनी हैज़ टू प्रोड्यूस समथिंग. वो कहीं से रॉ मटेरियल प्रोक्योर करेगा, कुछ प्रोडक्शन करेगा, कुछ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करेगा, कुछ असेंबली करेगा, फिर उसको बेचेगा. देन देर विल बी कलेक्शंस, देन दैट विल गेट कलेक्टेड. फिर एक प्रॉफिट जनरेट करना है, कैश फ्लो जनरेट करना है. बैंकिंग के बारे में अगर बहुत आसानी से आपको याद रखना है तो इट इज़ द बिजनेस ऑफ मनी. मतलब एक सोर्स से पैसा लेना है एट अ सर्टन कॉस्ट, कहीं पे उसको लेंड करना है एट अ सर्टन इंटरेस्ट इनकम, एंड उनमें जो फासला रहेगा, उनमें जो डिफरेंस है, उसको नेट यील्ड, नेट इंटरेस्ट कमाना है और उसके अगेंस्ट अपने पूरे कॉस्ट मैनेज करना है. सो इट इज एक्चुअली द बिजनेस ऑफ मनी. विद दिस लिटिल बैकग्राउंड, नाउ लेट अस सी कि बैंकिंग में एग्जैक्टली क्या होता है, उसका बिजनेस मॉडल क्या है. सो सबसे पहले तो हमें जो रॉ मटेरियल है या जो इनपुट है, वो पैसा है जो हमें लोगों से बोरो करना है. तो इसके दो तीन सोर्सेस अभी यहाँ पे दिखाए हैं. वन इज द ओन इक्विटी कैपिटल ऑफ द बैंक विच इज अ कंपनी इन इटसेल्फ. सो उसमें पेड अप इक्विटी कैपिटल आएगा, रिजर्व्स एंड सरप्लसेस आएंगे विच इज द कैरी फॉरवर्ड प्रॉफिट्स एंड द कैश दैट इज एक्यूमुलेटेड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. फिर आएंगे बोरोइंग्स विच इज कमिंग फ्रॉम आरबीआई टाइप ऑफ रिपो फंड्स, bonds, interbank deposits, interbank money, etc. All this will have a cost. And deposits, which is again categorized into fixed or term deposits and current asset, current accounts, savings accounts, इनमें जो पैसा पड़ा रहता है, which is at a low cost. So these are the sources of funds जहाँ से आप आपका borrowed capital raise करते हो. इसका obviously the cost जितना lower रहेगा, वो आपके profitability के लिए अच्छा रहेगा. लेट अस मूव ऑन कि एक बार बैंक्स ने पैसा रेज कर लिया तो उसके बाद लेंडिंग कैसे चलता है. तो लेंडिंग हैपन्स टू ऑब्वियसली अ सेगमेंट ऑफ पीपल हु आर कॉल्ड बोरोवर्स. यहाँ पे अलग अलग टाइप के लोन्स होते हैं जो वी नो एज कंज्यूमर्स, एज पीपल हु हैव टेकन लोन्स. रिटेल या इंडिविजुअल्स के लिए देर आर पर्सनल लोन्स, बिजनेस लोन्स, क्रेडिट कार्ड्स, होम लोन्स, लोन अगेंस्ट प्रॉपर्टीज, एक्सेट्रा. देन इन द कॉर्पोरेट there are corporate type of loans and advances. Then there is MSME, which is also called priority lending, agri type of loans, etc. etc. So ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि जो बैंक्स है उनको जितना वाइड पोर्टफोलियो ऑफ लोन्स या प्रोडक्ट्स रहेगा वो उनके लिए बहुत अच्छा है. बिकॉज एक ही कस्टमर अपने लाइफ साइकिल में या इवन ओवर अ डिकेडल साइकिल will go for multiple types of loan, that particular individual or company. So if the bank is giving multiple loans, multiple types of loans, so अच्छा हो जाएगा कि आपका रिपीट कस्टमर बन जाएगा, नहीं तो वैसे नहीं होगा. And it is always easy to do more business with the same customer than trying to acquire a new customer every time. So other than lending to borrowers, which forms a source of income, they also have to invest in government securities for the statutory liquid ratio, which are called assets with RBI. This is all the use of funds. Now obviously यहाँ पे आप जब lend करोगे तो इसका इंटरेस्ट रेट जितना भी ज़्यादा होगा वो अच्छा है, बिकॉज इसके अगेंस्ट आपको बोरोइंग का इंटरेस्ट ऑफसेट करना है और बीच में जो नेट यील्ड बचेगा, नेट इंटरेस्ट बचेगा, वो आपका ग्रॉस इनकम बन जाएगा. एज वी हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस, नाउ लेट अस कम टू द P&L ड्राइवर्स विच आर इन द रेवेन्यू, कॉस्ट एंड प्रॉफिट. सो नेट इंटरेस्ट इनकम जो हमने अभी बात की, दैट इज नेट इंटरेस्ट इनकम माइनस द इंटरेस्ट पेड ऑन द बोरोइंग्स. फिर होता है अदर इनकम. सो आपको पता है कि कोई भी एक फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ आप जब भी डील करते हो तो अलग अलग टाइप के फीस होते हैं. जैसे लोन प्रोसेसिंग फी होता है, मिनिमम बैलेंस नहीं मेंटेन किया तो उसका एक अलग फी होता है, क्रेडिट कार्ड के चार्जेस होते हैं, एंड वेरियस थिंग्स. सो दिस आर द बेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ इनकम. In fact, there are some types of banks जहाँ पे इनका नेट इंटरेस्ट इनकम ज़्यादा नहीं होगा, बट फीस विल फॉर्म द मेन पार्ट ऑफ देयर नेट इनकम, और इसके लिए कोई एडिशनल ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट नहीं होती है। ब्रांच का जो बैंक का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना हुआ है उसी से ये सर्विसिंग चलते रहता है, बट वाइल प्रोसेसिंग यू जस्ट मेक ऑन दोज एडिशनल बक्स. Then there are the actual costs, which are the operating expenses of just like any other organization, which is mainly about people, locations, branches, etc. And then there is the credit cost. Now this is a very important part कि जब आप lending कर रहे हो तो based on the quality of your lending and loans, जब भी उसमें कुछ पेमेंट में आगे पीछे होता है तो आपको उसके अगेंस्ट प्रोविजंस लेने पड़ते हैं. अगर आपका एजिंग ऑफ लोन्स आगे जा रहा है तो उसको बोलते हैं क्रेडिट कॉस्ट एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द P&L. So net the profit is equal to the net interest income plus other income minus cost minus provision. So NII जितना भी हाई है वो बेटर है बैंक के लिए. So in short दोस्तों, a bank works like a middleman. It borrows money from depositors at a low cost and lends it at a higher rate to borrowers. The difference is its core income या gross income, जिसमें उसको अपना बाकी P&L मैनेज करना है. And last part and the most important part, ये दिखता है उतना आसान नहीं है. जब आप पैसा उठा रहे हो उस पर एक कॉस्ट है, जब पैसा आप लेंड कर रहे हो, सो अदर देन द इनकम देयर इज अ क्रेडिट एंड अ रिस्क कॉस्ट, कि कभी भी अगर आप लोन्स की रिकवरी नहीं कर पाए तो इट इज ऑलवेज गोइंग टू हैपन दैट देयर विल बी राइट ऑफ्स. तो ये आता है अंडर द एसेट क्वालिटी. आपके जो रिकवरेबल लोन्स है वो आपके एसेट्स होते हैं बिकॉज दे आर गोइंग टू गेट इन मनी फॉर यू वंस यू रिकवर. अगर उनमें कोई प्रॉब्लम होता है या फिर अगर उनमें से एक परसेंटेज के ऊपर दे स्टार्ट गोइंग बैड, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड अ बैड एसेट क्वालिटी. तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर्स अदर देन व्हाट वी हैव सीन ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड. अभी हम देखते हैं कि व्हाट आर द इंपॉर्टेंट मेट्रिक्स दैट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग एक्चुअली द एंटायर बैंकिंग बिजनेस. जैसे हमने अभी एक सिंपलिस्टिक टर्म्स में देखा, अभी हम देखते हैं कि व्हाट आर द मेट्रिक्स जिनको समझे बिना आप किसी भी बैंक के बिजनेस, ऑपरेशंस, फाइनेंशियल्स, गाइडेंस, ये सब चीज़ों को अंडरस्टैंड ही नहीं कर पाओगे. सो वी हैव डिवाइडेड दिस इनटू 3 टाइप्स ऑफ पैरामीटर्स. फर्स्ट इज द एसेट क्वालिटी एंड रिस्क असेसमेंट, सेकंड इज द ऑपरेशनल मेट्रिक्स, देन इज द वैल्यूएशन एंड ग्रोथ. सो एसेट क्वालिटी में सबसे पहले आता है जहाँ पे आपके रिपेमेंट जो है ऑफ द लोन्स वो ओवरड्यू हो रहे हैं 90 डेज के आगे, उन्हें ग्रॉस नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट्स बोला जाता है. सो दीज आर ऑलरेडी नॉट बैड डेट्स और डाउटफुल डेट्स, बट द बोरोवर इज सर्टनली नॉट पेइंग ऑन टाइम, ही इज डिलेइंग, और शायद आपको रीजन पता है नहीं पता है, बट एज पर द बैंकिंग नॉर्म्स यू आर सपोज टू स्टार्ट प्रोवाइडिंग, यानी P&L में उसका एक डेबिट लेना आपको जरूरी है और इस एसेट के अगेंस्ट एक प्रोविजन होना जरूरी है. इसी चीज को बोलते हैं प्रोविजंस कवरेज रेशो. सो लॉजिकली योर GNPA लोअर द बेटर, मतलब आपके जितने लोन से रिकवरी अच्छी हो दैट इज बेटर, नॉन रिकवरी शुड बी लोअर द बेटर, एंड प्रोविजंस एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ GNPA हायर द बेटर, so that there is no risk to the balance sheet and the P&L. Third important ratio in this line is capital adequacy ratio. This is a measure of the bank's financial strength and stability. As of now, the recommended percentage by the RBI is 11.5. यानी आपका जो कैपिटल है वो कितना एडिक्वेट है इसका ये एक मेजर है, एंड हायर द बेटर, इट शोज द फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द पर्टिकुलर बैंक. नेक्स्ट लेट अस कम टू ऑपरेशनल मैट्रिक्स. यहाँ पे कॉस्ट टू इनकम रेशो है. इट इज यूज्ड टू गॉज द एफिशिएंसी ऑफ द बैंक्स. ऑब्वियसली कॉस्ट एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ इनकम लोअर द बेटर. देन अ वेरी की रेशो कासा रेशो. सो कासा का फुल फॉर्म है, इट्स एक्रोनियम, फुल फॉर्म है CA इज करंट अकाउंट, SA इज सेविंग अकाउंट. तो यहाँ पे जो भी पैसा कस्टमर्स ने रखा हुआ है, रेशियो ऑफ दीज डिपॉजिट्स टू द टोटल डिपॉजिट्स. सो बैंक के जो डिपॉजिट्स है वो 2 टाइप के हैं. ये आप बोल सकते हो लो कॉस्ट बोरोइंग है, बिकॉज करंट अकाउंट पे उन्हें कोई इंटरेस्ट पे नहीं करना पड़ता और सेविंग अकाउंट्स पे मिनिमल रहता है, और जो टर्म डिपॉजिट्स है वहां पे मच हायर देना पड़ता है. सो वेन एवर द कासा रेशियो इज डिवाइडेड बाय द टोटल डिपॉजिट्स, देन हायर द बेटर, बिकॉज आपका कॉस्ट ऑफ बोरोइंग कम हो गया. Then comes the credit deposit ratio. This is a very key ratio where the total loans value is divided by the total deposits ratio. यहाँ पे जनरली बैंक्स ट्राई टू कीप अ थ्रेशोल्ड ऑफ 80 to 85%, उसके आगे बहुत एग्रेसिव समझा जाता है। एंड यहाँ पे कुछ आरबीआई के बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री के नॉर्म्स भी है। तो इससे क्या होता है कि मान लो आपने 100 रुपए के पैसे रेज कर लिए थ्रू डिपॉजिट्स एंड वेरियस मीन्स, और उसके ऊपर तो आपको जो भी रेट से बोरो किया है पैसा देना है, यू हैव टू पे द कॉस्ट। बट व्हेन यू आर गिविंग दिस मनी आउट एज लेंडिंग, आप 80 या 85 रुपीज आउट ऑफ 100 ही दे सकते हो। तो एक तरीके से दिस इज अ कैप ऑन योर इनकम। दैट इज वाई द टाइप ऑफ द लोन्स दैट यू गिव becomes important, where the higher interest loans should have a more proportion in your overall portfolio. The last type of metrics on this slide is the valuation and growth metrics, is the advance growth. Advance is simply the loans that you have given out because this is a lending business. This refers to the increase in the loans, signifies the bank's lending growth. Obviously, higher the better. Return on assets, this shows how profitable a bank's assets are in generating revenue. So the PAT divided by the total assets. And second, which is familiar with the other businesses just like ROA, is PB ratio or price to book. It compares the market value of a bank to its book value, total assets less liabilities. Obviously, lower the better. So दोस्तों, अगर ये 9 पैरामीटर्स आप समझोगे, so then only you can really understand when the bank is declaring its results, how to analyze trends over a period of time. So now let's get into discussion on all the important banks. We have covered the large private sector banks, इसलिए कि आपको समझने में भी थोड़ा इजी होगा. They are all private banks and they are a large banks. So सबसे पहला आता है the largest bank by market capitalization, which is HDFC Bank. This bank has a market capitalization of more than 14 lakh crores rupees. HDFC Bank वैसे needs no introduction because it has been known to be a consistent compounder for a long period of time. Very conservative in terms of loan book, in terms of provisioning policies, and a very high growth bank. But something different has happened in the last few years. So let us see what it is. July 23 में HDFC as a separate entity and HDFC Bank, इनका merger complete हुआ. So this was the biggest merger in the last decade. Both the businesses are very different. So HDFC was a housing finance company. It was a leader in that segment. Its loan book mainly had loans which were housing loans, which have a lower interest rate than what a bank generally does at a average interest rate against its loans. While HDFC Bank has personal, credit card, auto loans, etc., which are shorter in duration and a higher interest rate. So यहाँ पे आप देखोगे तो इसका जो mortgage यहाँ पे है, which was 11% for HDFC Bank, इसमें 77% of HDFC combine होके that has now become 33%. So overall 11 से 33% हुआ है होम लोन बुक, जिससे ओवरऑल इसका जो इंटरेस्ट इनकम अर्नड है इस पे एक लोअर इम्पैक्ट पक्का आना है. HDFC being a NBFC has a higher cost of borrowing as well, which was an average of 6.7%, while HDFC Bank, if you remember, has a very healthy CASA ratio, hence its borrowing cost is only 4%. So ये दूसरा इम्पैक्ट है कि एक तो आपका जो लोअर इंटरेस्ट वाला इनकम था वो बढ़ गया, और दूसरी बात है कि आपका जो बोरोइंग का कॉस्ट है वो भी बढ़ गया वेटेड एवरेज. सो व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस दैट हैव कम इन द लास्ट 2 years ड्यू टू द फैक्ट दैट इट इज अ मर्ज्ड एंटिटी बट विच इज नाउ डेजिग्नेटेड एज अ बैंक. तो HDFC NBFC थी तो उसको लो यील्डिंग गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स में पैसा रखना नहीं था एज पर RBI रेगुलेशंस, बट HDFC को रखना है. सो कंबाइंड एंटिटी का वो वैल्यू ऑफ दिस पार्क मनी बीइंग लोअर, HDFC बैंक हैज टू नाउ गो आउट ऑफ द वे द मर्ज्ड एंटिटी टू ऐड टू दैट, तो उस पर वापस उसका कोई इनकम नहीं बनाएगा. फिर कंबाइंड एंटिटी जैसे ये पैसा पार्क करेगा उसका NIM दैट इज नेट इंटरेस्ट मार्जिन लोअर हो जाएगा. अनदर रीजन, HDFC's borrowings were from bonds, commercial paper, which has increased the credit to deposit ratio, जो 100 के बहुत आगे चला गया as we see in the subsequent slides. Also, these borrowings will need to be replaced slowly as the CASA of HDFC Bank impact can be clearly seen in the loan book. Now let's get into the actual numbers. So यहाँ पे ये जो बार चार्ट है वो आपको फोकस करना है. If you see the quarter one of FY24, before this particular merger happened, यहाँ पे आप देखोगे कि इनके जो डिपॉजिट्स थे वो 18.2 ट्रिलियन रुपीस के थे और इनके जो एडवांसेस थे वो 16.4 ट्रिलियन रुपीस. मतलब the advances was much lower than the deposits as per the norm. In the very next quarter, as soon as the merger got completed and there was a consolidation of the numbers, you will see that the deposits are only 20.4 trillion and its loans or advances are 23.3, which is way beyond the norm. और आप देखोगे कि अब अभी 8 क्वार्टर्स उसको खत्म हुए हैं, लेकिन फिर भी आज भी इनके जो लोन्स है these are much higher than their deposits. And in fact, the bank has gone on to the extent that say that maybe another 2 years will be needed to get this to a regular level of 85 to 90%. इसकी वजह से आप देखोगे कि जो इनका डिपॉजिट का ग्रोथ है वो कम हुआ है मार्च 25 में. उसके बाद जो लोन मिक्स है which is again dependent on the deposits because we have already seen that the loans are much higher than the deposit, so they do not have the free hand कि उनका लोन बुक भागता रहे. तो मे बी रेयर दैट फॉर अ फुल फाइनेंशियल ईयर HDFC बैंक का जो लोन बुक है वो सिर्फ 7.76% से बढ़ा है. एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इम्पैक्ट जो हमने प्रीवियस स्लाइड पे 2-3 बड़े रीजंस देखे, उसकी वजह से इसका जो NIM है जो एक 4 के ऊपर था, in the last 2 years it has rapidly come down to 3.48%. So let's look at what all is likely to happen. Management is actively working on improving the CASA, जिसके उसका borrowing cost कम हो जाएगा, and increasing it as an overall share of the deposits. Significant investments have happened in the last 2 years to open the branches. So this bank, which had already 7,800 branches 2 years back, has opened around 1,600 branches in the last 2 years. So इससे उनका operation cost बढ़ गया होगा. The deposit growth has been higher than the loan growth, which obviously led to a contraction in the NIM. And the total expenditure has grown more fast than the income. Now the management का जो loan growth है, इसमें उनको लीड ऑप्टिमाइज भी यील्ड्स करने हैं और प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर की जो रिक्वायरमेंट है उसको भी मीट करने हैं. So in a way, these are a lot of challenges in a short period of time due to this merger. But HDFC Bank being the HDFC Bank, it is more than likely that the way they have tried to navigate the last 18 to 20 months, in another 2 years, everything is likely to be hunky-dory. A quick look at the P&L. The total income has been growing. यहाँ पे आप देखोगे this is more due to the consolidation of a 60% jump दिख रहा है आपको. But in March 25 financial year, you will see a right number, a normal number. Total expenditure as a percentage of the total income has been going up for reasons discussed earlier. And you can see that as a result, the PAT as a percentage of total income has gone down by around 3% in these 2 years. So this is what we have about HDFC Bank. The future is much better as the bank will continue to put its might behind increasing its deposits, changing the loan ratio, changing the borrowings to achieve a higher NIM and a higher PAT. चलो अभी देखते हैं the next big bank which also needs no introduction. It is ICICI Bank. ICICI Bank has been one of the consistent performers in the past few years through the market cycle. यहाँ पे आप देखोगे तो इसका जो कासा रेशो है वो 45.84% था मार्च 23 में. It is still above 40%, which is very healthy. And the rest is term deposits. The term deposits now stand at 16,10,000 crores. That's a big number. The deposit growth also has been consistent and steady. If you look at the loan mix, you will see that retail ke loan percentage of total has been coming down. The rural has also been coming down, which would be mostly retail types. The business banking has shot up, which is an initiative clearly taken by the bank. And then the corporate also is doing well. So the loan book growth has also been consistent. So एक trend यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहा है. Business banking and corporate as a share is going up and retail, rural, etc. is coming down. NIM of the bank has steadily increased. अभी यहाँ पे आप देखोगे तो FY22 to 23 में the NIM has jumped by around 0.5%. Main reason being कि RBI ने repo rates बढ़ा दिए थे. तो banks typically क्या ट्रिक करते हैं, वो अपना जो सोर्स ऑफ इनकम है, जैसे लेंडिंग पे जो इंटरेस्ट कमाना है, उसके रेट जल्दी से बढ़ा देते हैं. पूरा इफेक्ट दे देते हैं, और जहां पे उनको बोरो करना है वहां पे आइदर म्यूटेड इम्पैक्ट देते हैं या लेट देते हैं. उसकी वजह से यू सी अ क्लियर जंप ओवर देयर which will be across most of the big private banks. The total branches have increased by around 1000 in this time, so very good steady expansion going on. तो क्या हुआ है? The business banking portfolio has grown by 34% year on year. Corporate banking has grown by 12%. The bank has mentioned that business banking is giving a higher yield compared to the corporate segment. Retail loan book has slowed down. उसके दो तीन रीजंस है. एक तो उसका जो अनसिक्योर्ड पोर्टफोलियो है रिटेल का, उसमें डेलिंक्वेसीज आए हैं, मींस द रिपेमेंट हैज गॉट डिलेड इन सर्टेन सेक्शंस ऑफ दोज लोन बुक. और बैंक ने ये जो पैरामीटर्स है इसको लास्ट 12 to 15 मंथ्स में और स्ट्रॉन्गर किया है, स्ट्रेंथन किया है अनसिक्योर्ड लेंडिंग में. So it is very clear that the bank is very proactive. While it wants to grow, it is growing well. It keeps a very keen eye on its asset quality. जहाँ पे भी स्ट्रेस नजर आया इमीडिएटली उसको अटैक होता है, नॉर्म्स चेंज होते हैं और दूसरे सेगमेंट्स में ग्रोथ ज़्यादा करते हैं ताकि ओवरऑल ग्रोथ पे फर्क ना पड़े. A quick scan of the P&L. तो total growth in income has been very good except last year which is slightly lower. Total expenditure is consistent as a percentage of total income and it enjoys a very healthy PAT of almost 25% which is consistent across all the years. चलिए देखते हैं which is the next important bank. So we are covering Axis Bank now. Axis Bank has a lower CASA ratio compared to some of the other large banks. As of March 25 it is around 40% and term deposits are 60%. This is clearly seen that this bank has been struggling with deposit growth. Even the last couple of years, much lower numbers, and then finally single digit in the year ended March 25. As a result, the loan book overall has also grown at only 8%. इसमें एक आपको यूनिक चीज देखने को मिलेगी कि इसके जो कॉर्पोरेट लोन्स है, those have actually come down drastically, and the SME segment and the retail segment have increased. The overall commentary in banks has been in retail and the unsecured part. There has been a problem with some of the unsecured loans in terms of delinquency etc. But यहाँ पे इसका शेयर बढ़ते हुए दिख रहा है. It has also managed to open around 1000 branches, going up to 5800 by March 25. Now since it has given loans at a slightly higher rate, that's why its NIM has continued to be similar in the last 3 years. और 22-23 का overall banking industry का jump in the NIM we have already discussed. अभी डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ जो कंस्टेंट रहा है इसका अभी मैनेजमेंट ने एक गाइडेंस में बताया है कि इन Q4 25 which just got closed now, sequentially over the previous quarter, that is Q3 25, there is a better traction. The bank is also trying to improve its NII margins by increasing share of assets which have a higher yield. Asset quality में there are certainly some question marks because in the retail asset quality for unsecured products, since the overall industry is under pressure, this bank will also be under pressure, especially in the microfinance segment. The management has gone out of the way to emphasize that in the next few quarters, this stress in the unsecured segment should stabilize. Okay, so this needs to be interpreted with caution. Looking at the P&L, you will see that the growth in the total income has tapered off over the last 3 years. The total expenditure has gone up. That happens when your income growth is not enough. There was an exceptional item due to which the PAT percentage in March 23 was in single digits, and as of now we have a PAT around 18%. What matters for this bank is आगे जाके इसका जो स्ट्रेस वाले एसेट्स है उसके अगले 1-2 साल में do they go bad? Is the provisioning conservative enough? Are there going to be hiccups along the way due to this asset quality deteriorating? This is what we would watch very keenly and not go just by the profit numbers. So this is all about Axis Bank. So the next bank that we will cover over here is Kotak Mahindra Bank. So let's see what has happened in the last couple of years. So as we know, Uday Kotak has been the founder, MD, CEO for a long time, and he stepped down in September 23, a few months ahead of the scheduled term end in December. Now they could not find a high profile external or internal successor जो ऐसा एक प्रेमाडोना जो प्रमोटर होता है when his big boots are to be filled, ये चाहिए रहता है जस्ट फ्रॉम अ आउटसाइड इन परस्पेक्टिव. नाउ इसका थोड़ा सा एक इम्पैक्ट हुआ स्टॉक पे, म्यूटेड था in spite of the good performance of the bank. Ashok Vaswani has now been appointed as the MD and CEO in Jan 24 to succeed the illustrious Uday Kotak. He also has very rich experience of global institutions like Citigroup and Barclays. Another operational matter which happened and which also was a regulatory matter कि ये बैंक ने कोटक्स 811 करके डिजिटल बैंकिंग इनिशिएटिव लॉन्च किया था. इट वाज अ की ड्राइवर फॉर एक्वायरिंग डिपॉजिट्स, ओपनिंग ऑनलाइन अकाउंट्स. इट वाज मेनली अ पार्ट ऑफ द ऑनलाइन एंड मोबाइल बैंकिंग चैनल. बट अप्रैल 24 में आरबीआई ने इसको स्टॉप कर दिया, ये पूरे इनिशिएटिव को, ये ऑनलाइन इनिशिएटिव को. और the reason that was given was there were serious deficiencies in the bank's IT systems and risk management practices identified during the examinations in 22 and 23. The unfortunate part was 95% of Kotak's new personal loans by volume and 99% of new credit cards had all been happening through these new digital channels. But आगे क्या हुआ? The bank appointed Grant Thornton Bharat as an external auditor for its IT systems and the enhanced tech team. By Feb 25, in less than a year, RBI had to lift the restrictions after being satisfied that the improvements made by the bank were fine, and it allowed Kotak to again onboard the digital customers and go ahead with its initiative again. So let's look at the standard operational parameters. CASA ratio has been declining. It's still healthy at 43%. The deposit growth has been good overall, though of course in March 25 it has been lower. If you look at the mix of the products or the loan book, then consumer loans have remained a similar proportion across the 3 years. Commercial or business loans have slightly gone down. Corporate also slightly gone down. All in all, a similar loan mix has been continued. The branches have been growing very well. So from 1780, they have gone to 2148. As we know that since the last 1.5 years, this bank has taken more of a digital initiative. Many consumers have experienced that it's a great service platform. They're getting good service, and most of the cities and tier 1 are latching on to that. So the growth in branches is not really important over here. The NIM, which had touched 5.33 a couple of years back, is still around 5. So now that the bank has restarted its online initiative, there we can see a good growth in the coming days. The active money segment, which was a auto sweep from savings account to term deposit, has also grown 18% year on year. It has reduced the rates for both current and saving accounts to now speak to the repo rate decrease that the RBI started doing in the last couple of quarters. The management believes that the system liquidity has seen significant improvements since the restrictive practices of the RBI have got overturned in the last few months. They should certainly be beneficial to bank to increase its deposits and the loan book. Asset quality, यहाँ पे हम सीधा एक बार देख लेते हैं कि इनका जो प्रोविजंस एज अ टोटल इनकम है वो 1.11 से 2.81 से 4.57 गया है. So this gives us a lot of comfort from an outside in perspective that the bank does believe in risk management. It has its ears to the ground. जैसे stress and delinquencies build हुआ है in the personal loan and the credit card segment, उन्होंने provisions को भी बढ़ा दिया है. So the likely after effects and surprises are likely not to happen. The microfinance again over here also has not spared anybody. So the credit cost and slippages remain at an elevated level. However, the rest of the loan book, which is the secured and wholesale, remains robust. So the growth in total income has been good enough for the last 3 years. The total expenditure has been managed well, and we see a very high PAT growth of in this bank, where the PAT as a percentage of total income is 26% as on March 25. So that's all we have about Kotak Bank. So let us look at the next bank. This is the IDFC First Bank. हमने सुना है काफ़ी सालों से this is likely to be the next HDFC Bank. Can it be? पहले डिटेल्स तो स्टडी करते हैं. So IDFC First Bank is founded by the merger of the erstwhile IDFC Bank, which was an infrastructure focused lender, and a Capital First, which was a retail-focused NBFC. This happened in December 2018. And the new entity was named as IDFC First Bank. Mr. Vaidyanathan, who was the chairman of Capital First prior to this merger, was appointed as the MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank. Post merger, there has been a very impressive growth. From December 18 till now, the deposits have grown from a 40,000 crores to whopping 2.4 lakh crores, which is reflecting a 35% CAGR over 6 years, not a short period of time. However, on the capital part, the bank has been showing a different thought process and different activity. The bank has raised 21,000 crores of equity capital in the last 5 years. इससे दो बातें होती है, एक तो जो ओरिजिनल स्टेक होल्डर्स थे उनकी इक्विटी डाइल्यूट हो गई, एंड देन यू हैव अ न्यू सेट ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स, many shareholders to manage. That's why you will see Mr. Vaidyanathan has been very active on TV channels, in his communication, we can say even proactive. Now, even recently, they have done an equity fundraising of 7,500 crores. But एक चीज clear है, if you do the maths, by doing this fundraising and increasing their equity capital, they are able to stay afloat. तो RBI का जो capital adequacy ratio का norm है, उसके ऊपर somehow they remain. That is how it happens. Let us look at the operational metrics, just like we did for other banks. So, because यहाँ पे भी, just like HDFC, there was a merger of an erstwhile bank and an NBFC. Its CD ratio was more than 100, in fact 1.69% at a gross level. 6-7 साल काम करके, now that ratio has come below 100. If you look at the loan book has been growing impressively, 13%, 25%, even last year 21%. Retail finance is very high compared to other banks. It is at 58% now. उसमें rural भी 10 है, जिसमें कुछ retail हो सकता है. Business finance is only 30%. And infrastructure, which was the erstwhile business, they are trying to take it to zero now. The deposit mix has also been running very fast, as we had seen a big CAGR over the last 6 years. Because of all this, their NIM is the highest what we have seen so far, which is more than 6. Also, there's a lot of effort involved, operational cost involved to get these kind of growth in the deposits and the loans. Their branches have gone from 206 numbers to more than 1,000 in a span of just 5 years. So very impressive growth numbers, no doubt. The management is trying to build a deposit funded bank by targeting a 20% deposit growth. They have been achieving it. They are targeting a loan book growth of also 20%, and they have guided NIM to come down by about 10 basis points, which means it will still remain close to 6. The asset quality is certainly under a bit of doubt, because as we saw, there is a lot of lending which is done in the retail and the rural, which is making up almost 70%. इसलिए इनके प्रोविजन आप अगर देखोगे तो 1600 से डायरेक्टली 5500 crores हुआ है. This 5500 crores is a very big number, where the total income is only 43,000 crores. So that's 12% of the total income. Okay. तो इनकी जो पैट है वो 9% जो थी 2 years बैक, उससे डायरेक्टली 3.5 हो गई, which is one of the lowest for a large bank. अभी वेदर प्रोविजंस का पीक आया है नहीं आया है वो तो वक्त ही बताएगा, बट एसेट क्वालिटी सर्टनली इज अंडर अ क्लाउड, एंड दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. बिकॉज जैसे हमने फर्स्ट दो स्लाइड्स में भी देखा, लोगों से पैसे बोरो करना एट अ सर्टन रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, उससे हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट में आपको लेंड करना is the main business, but it doesn't end there. Because if you are going to try and maximize your interest income by lending to riskier propositions, then it will have a big counter effect on you over the years. दूसरा नेगेटिव पॉइंट इस बैंक का ये है कि बार बार वो कैपिटल रेज करती है, इक्विटी डाइल्यूशन करती है, and that's the only way it stays within the norms of CAR. So we would certainly watch it, and we don't consider this as a very safe asset quality as of now. So that's all about IDFC Bank. So we have covered all the important large private banks. Now let us look at a comparison across them and see who is doing well where who is not doing well where, and what is likely to happen. सो ये टेबल को आप रिफर कीजिए जहाँ पे मेन पैरामीटर्स को कंपेयर किया बैंक वाइज. पहले नेट इंटरेस्ट मार्जिन देखते हैं. सो HDFC बैंक इज द लोएस्ट and we have seen that it is the impact of the merger where the CASA is on the lower side and the other reasons that we get. The IDFC First obviously has a higher CASA. The deposits and loans have been going fast. As we all know, on the deposits they give the highest rate of interest, so that also helps. And they are giving a lot of loans to retail at a higher rate, but their lending practices seem to be riskier compared to the other banks. The CASA ratio of HDFC is the lowest. Again, IDFC is the highest. Capital adequacy ratio, IDFC, as we discussed, it keeps on raising equity capital. It's at 15.5 now, which is within the norms, which will go to 18. It's currently the lowest. Kotak Bank requires a mention over here. Kotak Bank has 22%. इसका मतलब ये है कि in the last 1 year, in the RBI restrictive practices of lending, risky weights, etc., they were conservative while raising the deposits as well as giving loans. That is why they have a higher CR. As a result, अगर अगले 2 साल में वो इस ग्रोथ को ड्राइव करना चाहे फास्टर, तो they have a good cushion. Cost to income ratio, obviously IDFC First, we saw that ब्रांचेस भी बहुत फास्ट ओपन हो रहे हैं, डिपॉजिट्स भी आ रहे हैं, लेंडिंग भी चल रहा है. एंड द गाइडेंस इज दैट नाउ द मैनेजमेंट वुड लाइक टू कंसोलिडेट दिस कॉस्ट एंड ब्रिंग देम डाउन. सो हाउ डू वी समराइज दिस? कोटक बैंक स्टैंड्स आउट फॉर इट्स स्ट्रॉन्ग NIM, top tier CAR and high CASA base, a very good blend of profitability, funding mix and capital strength. We feel that if utilized correctly as a springboard, next 2 years can be very good performance by this bank when the RBI norms are also giving more liquidity. ICICI Bank wins on efficiency, the lowest income, and with the lowest cost to income with solid NIM and CASA. HDFC Bank combines excellent capital buffers and good efficiency through its NIM and CASA, lag peers due to merger impact. IDFC First has the highest NIM and CASA, but is weighed down by high operating cost and a thinner capital cushion. फाइनली क्या होता है कि इन द लैंडिंग बिजनेस आपका जो कैपिटल है वहां से आप कितना लैंड कर पाते हो वो लॉन्ग रन में हमेशा मैटर करता है. एंड IDFC हैज बीन लैगिंग इन दैट. एक्सिस बैंक somewhere sits in the middle on most metrics, but the bank has been struggling to fetch deposits. So that's about the peer comparison. Now let's look what is likely to happen. So let us summarize now what we have discussed so far. What is the larger picture? What has happened in the last few years? And what is likely to happen in the next few years? So अभी कुछ balance sheet items देखते हैं. Gross net performing assets, highest for IDFC First, 1.87%. Return on assets, the lowest for IDFC First, 0.48 and 4. Obviously जब आपका PAT percentage of total income 3.5% होगा तो ये सब भी low होगा. Now let's come at the main part, which is about relative valuations. So यहाँ पे आपको दिखेगा the 10-year average price to book ratios of these banks क्या है. जैसे HDFC 3.9 है, अभी 2.8 पे है. ICICI is the only bank which is conclusively way higher as the current PB compared to the 10-year average, 2.4 versus 3.2. Axis is slightly lower. Kotak Mahindra Bank again at a big discount to the 10-year average, just like HDFC Bank. And these are very strong banks we're talking about. IDFC First at a similar level. So let's summarize now. If we connect the dots, we can gauge that larger banks have maintained a good asset quality and are adequately covered with healthy provision ratios. The credit growth has been muted for most banks due to the deposit constraints in the last couple of years, very much highlighted in case of Axis Bank. A common concern across the sector has been the stress in the unsecured lending and microfinance segments, and banks will remain cautious in extending credit to these areas. The wholesale and SME loan book are performing well for most banks, reflecting strong underlying demand and the credit quality of these segments. Most banks are currently trading way below their long term average valuation multiples, that is the price to book ratio, as we saw, and most of the recent challenges now appear to be behind them. So, after 3 to 4 years of underperformance, the banking sector certainly seems poised for a turnaround, which is supported now by favorable liquidity policies. So, that's it. Thank you. Hope this adds value to your investing knowledge. We will continue to bring curated research content for you. Do not forget to subscribe